Who knew that a psychological horror thriller would be able to teach me so much about ballet that I didn't know? Hi, my name's Drew and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. Today I am talking about the film Black Swan, which stars Natalie Portman, among others. It is a film that I've had on my list for quite some time actually. I knew it was a good film. Obviously, Natalie Portman, she won the Oscar. That's another reason that many people know it, myself included. So I was really interested in seeing it, also because I am one of those guys, it's not the cliche that I'm a guy and that's why ballet is not interesting to me. Ballet to me is like the opera. I feel like somehow I'm too stupid to get it. It's just something about it I don't understand what makes it appealing. So while I generally enjoy many forms of art, these are the kind of things that I never really could get into. Watching this film gave me a really new perspective, so that was very, very interesting for me. Who knows, maybe someday I will actually go and watch some ballet now that I do feel like I get it a bit more. So in the film we have Natalie Portman. She plays Nina, who is 28 years old, who seemingly for all her life she has been training ballet. She works in a dance company and they are putting on a new version of Swan Lake, and she desperately wants to be the lead role because the person they had up to that point, who always was the face of the company, she's retiring and therefore Nina wants to take her place. The thing here being that Nina has some struggles with portraying one half of the role, which would be the Black Swan, where she has to sort of come out of her shell a bit more, where she has to be a bit more, I'll call it lively, daring, that kind of thing. She has to find the sort of bad side in her. And at the same time, she has got a rival for the role who she is competing with. As per usual, I will only be mentioning at most minor spoilers, so if you want to see how that all works out in detail, I would of course recommend seeing this film, because this film I feel is also very worthwhile you seeing it, regardless of your opinions on ballet, I would say, because it is a really, really good film. Starting with the acting, I think that would be a very appropriate part. Obviously you have to mention Natalie Portman, an absolutely deserved Oscar if you ask me, because just to remind you again, this is a psychological sort of horror thriller. It does not feel like that at all times, so the horror is yes, you've got some scary bits in there that are meant to sort of shock and frighten you and stuff, but it's not your typical horror thing. It does get under your skin quite a lot actually, sometimes very literally. So it's all about Nina and what's going on inside her inner turmoil. She's trying to find some way to sort of bring out this black swan within herself, and so she has to really change just how she as a person is. You see from the start she's very, very quiet, very soft spoken. At times you have difficulty hearing her, so she's obviously been brought up to be the pretty little girl. She has a mother who is played by Barbara Hershey, who seemingly used to be a ballet dancer herself, and you can see this sort of wish fulfillment. She is now sort of living through her daughter, who is now up to maybe get this role of the lead swan, the Swan Queen. And so you can see that the mother throughout her life has sort of really been controlling what she has been like, and she still is a little princess with 28 years of age. So watching this development, watching this transformation is very interesting. As you can imagine, as the film progresses, everything gets a bit more unhinged, and Natalie Portman does an incredible job of portraying not only the innocence, but also this sort of this discovering of new things in life, and then up to the I'll call it the the culmination of this, where she does then incorporate this sort of these qualities of the Black Swan into her own persona. Besides her, you have Mila Kunis, who plays this rival figure. Does an excellent job as well, because she's generally speaking oftentimes very friendly with Nina, so she gives her support in that, but then you see all sorts of situations where she is sort of coming closer to getting that Swan Queen role, so that continues throughout, and the performance is great as well. You have the company director, played by Frenchman Vincent Cassel, who I've seen in a few things. I like him a lot. Here, I don't know if it's stereotypical or not, but I did read that many actual ballet dancers were not happy with how this film was portrayed. I'll be honest, knowing things that I have heard from the bagpipe world, I am a bagpiper in case you did not know, and I play in a casual band, but what I have heard from how really professional bands are organised and how their structure is and how the interactions are, and that it's not an environment I really would want to be in, and it's completely plausible to me that the ballet world would be like this as well, if not even more so, because arguably it's one of the highest art forms there is, particularly in dance, I would feel. But I'm not an expert, I'm a layman, so take that as you will. But so Vincent Cassel, he plays the company director, and he is abusive and he's really outspoken, and it just makes you feel uncomfortable just by the way he talks to people, because it's all very sexual, the whole thing that's going on, and again, abusive as well, so you have that too, and he does brilliantly in the role, don't get me wrong, it's a character you kind of love to hate. But at the same time, he is someone who does build up the dancers, so it's this kind of, I suppose, a Stockholm syndrome thing, where he is abusive, but people ultimately follow him because he does kind of bring that what they want out of them. I already mentioned Barbara Hershey, who plays Nina's mother. Fabulous job, because you can really see in her at the one time she wants to take care of her daughter who is developing this gradually more obsessive and addictive behaviour, and so she can see that coming out. She just wants to protect the daughter. At the same time, she really wants her to succeed at this because it would also be the fulfilment of her own dreams, and the portrayal is just wonderful. Now, I haven't seen all of Darren Aronofsky's films. I have seen The Wrestler, which is a really good film. I really enjoyed that a lot. I've seen Requiem for a Dream, which is not an easy watch. Be warned if you do seek it out. But it seems that he generally has a liking to sort of characters who are obsessive and have addictive behaviour towards things, because in this film as well, that is exactly what happens. So Nina, like I say, she desperately wants to be the Swan Queen, and she gradually sort of becomes more extreme in her own behaviour and the things she goes through just to get it, and so she goes through quite a change. This is not portrayed not only in her character herself, but also in what we see, so it is psychological, so many times we are not quite sure what is going on and whether it's in her head or not. You also have to imagine, you keep seeing she suffers from bulimia, so I would assume that generally speaking her health isn't in the best of shape, so you have a lot of hallucinations going on with all this added stress and pressure and all these things that's causing hallucinations, it seems. And so we as the viewer as well, we are never quite sure what is real and what isn't. This is also portrayed in just all we have effects on screen, and the camera work itself is good. At first I felt a bit similar to what I spoke of in my Army of the Dead review, which if you're interested you can click up here to see. At first it felt a bit claustrophobic, there were many close-ups, but I will say it works a lot better in this film because we are following along all these characters, and it's not too much, and it's actually warranted because most of the time we are focused on just one individual person. So you really feel this psychological aspect because we're so up and close with our main character Nina throughout the whole thing, and all sorts of visual effects really help just build and make you live this pressure that she's under, and just all the changes. Camera also, and I think this is probably something that's particularly interesting for fans of ballet, because I would think that usually you're in a nice theatre and you're, I would assume, quite often very far away from the actual action, and maybe that is why I didn't get ballet so much until now. But here in this film with the close-ups, obviously we're following around all the actual ballet dancing itself, which as a layman again I would say is absolutely brilliant. I would also commend all the people in this film. It is my understanding that the actors, they obviously trained in it and they're doing a lot themselves, but not everything, which is quite understandable. So they obviously had actual ballet dancers in it as well, but regardless, all of it, in my opinion, is done really well, so I thought it was beautiful to look at, and I think this is what sort of worked for me, worked up and close. And so you see that this was not really known to me, for instance, that the ballet dancers, that it's so important for them to really show the emotion of their character, of what's happening right now. You sort of really have to sort of show this just with their facial expressions, because obviously they don't talk. And this was something that I really wasn't aware of, but I think that it's done really well here, and also it's shown really well. So while actual ballet dancers, obviously not all of them, but some of them have come out to sort of attack this film for that side, I actually thought it made me more interested in ballet, because I really liked what it was telling me about how ballet is performed. The camera work here, in my opinion, really helps to make people like me understand what it's all about. And it really makes you even enjoy the ballet portions of this film. One thing I really need to mention as well is the costume design. Just the one image of Natalie Portman when she is portraying the Black Swan, just with the makeup, particularly around her eyes, and then she's got this net over her face. Absolutely stunning. When I saw that on the screen, I thought, wow, this is one of the the best images I have ever seen on a person, just with paint and stuff. So that absolutely wonderful design. Again, I'm a layman, so maybe it's standard in the ballet world to have such incredible costumes. I would not know. Such wonderful costumes are obviously very helpful when you've got a visual art form like ballet. And here I just felt they were completely astonishing, so much that I just had to mention them. Overall, I will say though that it's for most people it might be a bit of a hard watch, because the film, generally speaking, is not quite uplifting. So as you can imagine, with all that I've said, it is a film that grates on you a bit, because you really feel for the main character, for Nina and her struggle. So in that sense, I would say it's even probably a bit of a depressing film, just because it's always hard to see people go through such hardships. Yeah. And then on top of everything else, like I say, you've got this psychological horror aspect. So I've already mentioned the bulimia, and you've got other things. She has obsessive behaviour. She scratches herself, and you've got various things like that happen that also might be uncomfortable for some people. To me, this is an incredible film. I would highly recommend that you watch it, unless you're a bit squeamish about films with sort of psychological horror undertones and people going through real hardships of a psychological nature, and that can be slightly disturbing. Like I say, you've got bulimia and other things, so quite delicate issues. Just giving you a heads up in case you do want to watch the film. But tell me about the film in the comments down below, whether you've seen it, what you thought of it, what you thought of the costumes, any of that, all down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like on it. If you want to, you can share it around, of course. That would help the channel out a lot. And while we're at the channel, subscribe to that if you want to see more review videos, which will be coming in future, of course, on Flying Wiener. And I will see you in the next one. Take care.